Level 1, the tip-off. You're a mid-level portfolio manager at a respected hedge fund in Midtown Manhattan when the first sign appears on a seemingly ordinary Tuesday. An email from FINRA arrives requesting documents on several trades you executed right before a major pharmaceutical merger was publicly announced. The SEC's advanced market surveillance algorithms had detected the suspiciously timed pattern. Your fund had taken a large position in call options just days before the stock price surged. You convince yourself it's nothing more than routine compliance noise, a coincidence in noisy markets. But the anxiety starts immediately. You retain your first big law white shoe attorney from a prestigious Park Avenue firm charging $1,200 an hour just in case. Over dinner, you casually tell your wife it's standard regulatory review. She accepts the explanation, but you notice the subtle worry in her eyes. That night, the paranoia takes hold. At 3 a.m., you're wide awake, obsessively checking Bloomberg, deleting old chat logs, and scrubbing your phone history. You begin taking different routes to work and stop discussing anything work-related at home. The tip-off seems small and almost innocent, but you now understand that Wall Street investigations have a way of expanding until they consume every part of your life. You start questioning every past lunch, every golf game, every late-night text that might have crossed the line, wondering if the system already knows more than you realize. Level 2, the subpoena. 6 weeks later, the situation escalates sharply. A formal order of investigation is issued, transforming the voluntary requests into compulsory subpoenas, demanding every email, phone record, Slack message, and trade log from the past 3 years. Your firm's compliance department immediately freezes your trading account and restricts your system access. Your weekends are now spent in a windowless conference room with junior associates and your expensive legal team reviewing massive amounts of data while the billing meter runs relentlessly. Colleagues who used to socialize with you now avoid eye contact in the elevator and whisper when you pass. The isolation sets in fast. Stress begins showing physically with constant headaches, reduced appetite, and irritability with your family. The legal bills are climbing towards 6 figures and you've not even been formally accused yet. You realize the investigation machine has started and you are trapped inside it, watching your once stable life begin to fracture under the pressure. You stop sleeping through the night, replaying every conversation in your head, and the fear that one careless email could destroy everything you've built keeps you staring at the ceiling until dawn. Level 3, the Wells Notice. The dreaded Wells letter arrives next, the formal notice that SEC staff intends to recommend civil charges for Rule 10b-5 violations. Under newer policy, you are given 30 days to submit a detailed defense package. Your legal team works around the clock, drafting a 40-page Wells submission arguing mosaic theory and lack of personal benefit, citing every public filing and news article you supposedly used. You fly to Washington for the in-person meeting with enforcement staff in a sterile conference room that feels like a firing squad. The attorneys sit stone-faced as you present your case, asking pointed questions designed to expose any weakness. You leave the building sweating through your shirt, knowing the recommendation is almost certainly going forward. Civil fines in the millions and a permanent industry bar suddenly feel inevitable. The stress manifests in weight loss and snapping at your kids over nothing. You tell your wife it's still manageable, but the tremor in your voice gives you away. The fear of losing your license, your income, and your entire identity in the market starts to consume you completely. Level 4, the Parallel Criminal Probe. The civil investigation is bad enough, but then the Parallel Criminal Probe activates when the DOJ and FBI join forces. Grand jury subpoenas fly, wiretaps are placed on your personal phone, and search warrants are executed at 6 in the morning. Agents raid your weekend house in the Hamptons, while neighbors watch from their lawns. Your co-conspirator, the executive who fed you the tip, has already flipped and is wearing a wire at every meeting. You are forced to liquidate brokerage accounts and retirement funds just to post bail and hire the second, even more expensive criminal defense team. Sleep disappears entirely. Your children ask why the men with badges were at the door, and you lie through your teeth, calling it a misunderstanding. Your wife moves to the guest room, the trust you once had evaporating overnight. The family you built is fracturing in real time, while the investigation turns into a full criminal manhunt. Every phone call now feels monitored. Every knock on the door feels like the end. Level 5, the indictment. The federal indictment is unsealed in the Southern District of New York, charging securities fraud, conspiracy, and wire fraud with a maximum exposure of 25 years. The perp walk is captured live on CNBC as you are led out in handcuffs, your face splashed across every business network. Your firm issues an immediate termination press release, and FINRA bars you pending resolution. Plea negotiations begin within 39 days, and the statistics hit hard. 80% of similar cases plead guilty to avoid trial. You weigh accepting 5 to 7 years versus rolling the dice at trial where the government has overwhelming evidence. The media immediately nicknames you the next Rajaratnam, turning your life into a public cautionary tale. The humiliation is total. Friends stop returning calls. Your social circle evaporates, and the weight of public shame crushes what little dignity you had left. You sit in your lawyer's office signing documents that feel like the end of the person you used to be. Level 6, the long haul. You take the plea deal for 42 months. At the sentencing hearing, victim impact statements from pension funds and retail investors you allegedly hurt are read aloud in court. The judge cites sophisticated means and your leadership role as aggravating factors before handing down the sentence. You report to a minimum security federal camp modeled after Otisville. The first day is a blur of orange jumpsuit issuance, bunk assignment, and learning the rigid count time rhythm that will govern the next 3+ years. The reality of losing your freedom, your career, and your reputation settles in as you stare at the concrete walls and realize this is now your life. Daily prison life involves kitchen detail, yard walks, and watching your hair turn gray at 48 while you count the days in a routine that never changes. 10+ years later, you walk out the gate with $500 in gate money, a lifetime FINRA bar preventing any return to finance, supervised release conditions that restrict your movements, and asset forfeiture still hanging over whatever little you have left. Your ex-wife has remarried, and your kids barely recognize the man who emerges. You end up driving for Uber in a different state while scrolling old Bloomberg terminals on public library computers. A ghost of the traitor you once were, forever marked by the system that never forgets. The investigation machine keeps churning new faces through the same cycle. Fresh traitors convinced they are smarter than everyone who came before them. Your life is permanently erased, your name reduced to a footnote in enforcement statistics. But the Wall Street probe continues without you, already scanning the next set of unusually timed trades.